A man whose unique view of life has greatly influenced modern art.
It all depends on how inspired I feel.
Oh, I try to do big, simple designs.
The more I look at it, the more I like it.
I don't set out to be controversial. I do what I want to do.
What's happening, gang? It's your host, Richard Arthur, and this is I See What You're Saying. And today I'm lucky enough to have Abstract Expressionist painter, Eric Wixon.
How you doing, bud? Good to see you.
First of all, where can people find your work?
I guess just go to my Instagram. There's a link on the Instagram that's like a link tree. I just joined this thing called Singular Art. They're based out of
I
Paris.
saw that.
And yes, so that seems kind of cool. So that's like a place where people can scoop up work. And then I have stuff available through Artsy as well. My own site's on there. I don't currently really have anything in my store, but I'm going to update like sometime soon with like some more like kind of smaller, more affordable stuff. Christmas treats out there, you know?
Dude, Q4, baby.
Right?
Now, did I say the right genre for what you're doing?
I go with contemporary painting because I'm definitely influenced by abstract expressionism, but I feel like, oh yeah, it's one of my pieces. I'm like, oh, I'll sneak one in there.
As yet to be defined.
Abstract expressionism totally is influenced me hugely, definitely plays in the work, but I also feel like I've been influenced by other genres, pop art or graffiti. Beyond that, even, I feel like I'm kind of just influenced by just everything in general. So long story short, I don't consider myself an abstract expressionist, but I do think that it's played heavily into my shit. And it's, you know, I still do the splatty fucking shit that, you know, I did back in the day or whatever.
And you're in Portland now?
Yeah, exactly.
So my very good friend, who's incidentally also named Eric, he just visited Portland and he's like, dude, if you're going to go live in like North Humboldt, you should probably just live in Portland. And I go, the only problem with me in the Pacific Northwest is my soul is down here, but my heart beats in the Pacific Northwest, dude. But the problem was that I lived in Humboldt and hung out in Trinidad for the whole summer. I was fucking freezing cold. My sternum was like ice the whole summer, dude.
The summers here are fucking gorgeous, and it actually gets like hot sometimes, but generally speaking, the summers are gorgeous. And then winter, just like cold and rainy. It'll be like 45 to 55 and fucking rain. But all that rain is snow on the mountain. I love snowboarding. So it's like Portland's like an hour and a half from the mountain, hour and a half from the ocean. So it's like you got, you know, it's a long haul to do either, which kind of sucks, but it is nice that it's accessible for both. The vast majority of the year, I try to go to the ocean, you know, like once a week, and then 4 months or so that winter seems to be around, then I try to cruise up to the mountain once a week.
Refuel the whole chi flow. Like I can't live unless I'm by the moving water or like a complete like iron curtain, a green curtain of trees. Like I have to have and if those two meet up, that's why I wound up living in Humboldt.
Dude, the coast here is fucking gorgeous, dude. I don't know if you've been to the Oregon coast a lot, but it's fucking gorgeous. It's ridiculous how pretty the coast is here. Trees and rocks and shit going down into the water. You're hiking through like fucking giant redwood forest and shit. It's so weird. You're like walking with a surfboard and you're like, what? I'm going surfing like in the middle of a fucking forest. Pop out and you're like, oh, here's this little cove with a little wave, and there's hardly anybody in the water compared to like San Diego. It's basically like San Diego's winter water temps are kind of like Portland's summer water temps.
Yeah, dude, because I can get in the water right now here in Leucadia, but up there, dude, I was like, this is a polar plunge. I was on Baker Beach with my tallywhacker hanging out for everyone to see. Well, not everyone. There's only like 8 of us, and nobody there is a creep. You know, even the meth addict guy is just like minding his own. He's just looking for fucking gold or whatever.
He's like, that guy obviously doesn't have any meth. He doesn't even have any clothes on.
That guy's got nice enough teeth. He probably doesn't have any crystal. It's interesting interviewing artists because every single one of us is like, I wouldn't call it a genre. Like, I don't know what the fuck I would call it. And I think that's because ab-ex painter or like pop art, it's like well-worn territory. But why I equate you with some of those dudes that are like the big operatic dudes like Pollock and stuff like that is because you're doing what could be described as action painting. So a lot of as I hit my own brim and my own microphone, this is a professional
very
setup.
emphatic fucking getting after it, dude.
My action is only because my paintings are sometimes big, but in terms of like what I'm seeing in the background, I'm so stoked you have your work in the background, dude. This is the Halloween episode. So it's a haunted Zoom call right now. So it's the haunted Zoom call. So where are you from originally in the world?
Lisbon, Ohio, the village of Lisbon, 2,000 people in the town I grew up in, like ultra rural. So yeah, basically like a tiny little town with farmland all around it. And that's where I grew up. All that Americana shit. I was just like bored and smoked fucking mad weed all day, every day. Got into skateboarding and stuff. And so I managed to entertain myself.
Stop skating on the church.
Dude, I would literally get like chased by the cops and shit as a kid. Like that's how fucking bored and dumb it was.
So how much about your Ohio upbringing do you think kind of shaped your aesthetic in terms of what you're doing now?
It fostered that love of nature. I was always outside. I mean, maybe a lot of that too is just the time that I grew up. Like I was lucky in that I didn't have internet as a kid. My one buddy growing up, his dad's name ironically is Bud. But he was kind of like known as like the town pothead. Dude, there's going to be an information super highway. It's going to be insane, man. It's like high talking out his ass. You know what I mean? And it's like he was hip to the fucking internet before it happened.
Dude, he's like turning into an iguana, like fucking Stacy Keach from, Nice Dreams.
Up in Smoke, all them Cheech and Chong bits back in the day.
He shows up in several of the movies, Stacy Keach, and he starts smoking this weed, and they heard about a guy called Bud Good, and Bud Good's the supplier, but they're talking about like Good Bud or something. And then Stacy Keach smokes this like crazy ass weed and like slowly starts gesticulating in the manner of a fucking iguana, like because the weed, dude, it was like it's that whole different culture around shit. But also too, if you were skateboarding, this is true of me growing up in San Diego. I used to buy a deck, not based on the size of my body and like the ergonomics. It was about what the fuck was on the deck.
Oh, like the cool graphics or whatever. Growing up in Hicktown, Ohio, I actually ordered all my shit from California. And it was like, I couldn't even do it at my parents' house. The phone that you're like, that old school, like fucking ring around thing. My buddy's phone, that was touch tone. So I get like the touch tone phone and my mom's credit card, California Cheapskates catalog. And I'd be looking at all the different graphics and shit. I was usually like pretty broke, so I just got the blank one. But I was still always looking at that shit. And I was always influenced by looking at those graphics early on for sure.
Like if you couldn't buy a hookups deck or whatever was your jam, I used to fucking peel Obey stickers off the back of stop signs and shit.
Oh, nice.
And I used to buy the glitter. Remember the sexy cat? They used to come in the, like if you went to the dentist or the, like, I don't know, the candy place, because the skater kids were, instead of buying gumballs, we would buy the weird little like plastic cups that had sexy glitter cat stickers. And yeah, man, we didn't, if I couldn't get the hookups deck, I would fucking pimp out my blanks, because I for sure bought blanks too,
Right. But yeah, I didn't even know you grew up skating and shit. So that's kind of cool to know that. And then it's also cool to me. I was obsessed with like the idea of California and shit as a little kid. I don't know. It's kind of neat to actually like spend a fair amount of time there. And I might end up moving back down there. Actually, I don't know, maybe in like another year or something. It's just gotten crazy expensive.
So San Diego's kind of become like Los Angeles Junior a little bit.
So you're in Leucadia, you said?
Yeah. So it's like technically not San Diego City. So it's like, it feels like.
Yeah. I lived in Carlsbad first, actually, before I lived in San Diego proper.
Right on. So it's like
Carlsbad for like a year and a half, like just north of Leucadia.
Right on. Well,
you're frozen again, man. Come back to me.
Fucking Wi-Fi, man. The Zoom is literally telling me your shit is unstable in terms of connection. So also too, I look like I'm in a haunted hotel room because
you look like you're one of your paintings. It's dope.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, this is one of the neon, it's neon Kate Moss, which is it's like the silhouette cut. I just never would ever sell it because it was like a breakthrough fucking moment for me, where I was just like laying in bed on a pot farm and I was looking at the wall, and this idea I had done the triangle paintings with neon on the sides. And it was fucking cool and everything, but like, what are you going to do? A triangle again? No, you got to like, so also too, the neon exposed without hiding it really harshes my fucking eyes. I guess blue eyes are more sensitive to light, or maybe I just have that kind of eye, whatever it is. It harshes your fucking cornea. So I got the idea to hide the fucking neon in the back, which creates this halo on the wall, which is why I look like fucking Stranger Things right now, dude.
That does have Stranger Things vibe.
Am I cutting out again?
Yeah, you've been pretty choppy the last couple of minutes.
That fucking sucks, dude. Let me try and see if I can just like move. And it seems like the office is like a black hole for the Wi-Fi. Apologies for like teasing that we were gonna do this and then canceling it and then
No worries.
I really wish this wasn't cutting off. Fuck, dude. We're probably gonna have to reschedule, which sucks because I actually think it looks pretty rad. This is cool. I made it work, this room. Yeah, dude, I don't want it to be fucking freezing up. That fucking blows dick holes, bro. I'm gonna DM you my number and we'll just like replan it. The haunted Zoom call. Okay.
So go ahead and kill this thing and just give me a ring.
Yeah.
Word.
Okay. I'm in the better Wi-Fi. Oh, there's my dude. There's my dog.
There we go. I can hear you. I can see you. Things are working.
Yeah,
let me grab a fucking spinner if I'm back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, love that painting, man. We'll fucking shit our pants and dive in, dude. And you can feel free to go on any tangents or whatever.
I put some depends on. I'm ready for this.
Dude, is a Spindrift, is that an alcoholical beverage?
No, it's just soda water with juice. I love this shit. I'm like hooked on it like crack. I have been drinking plenty of alcoholic beverages, though. Not at the moment. I had one shift drink at work, but that was it. But the last couple of nights, I basically just like worked and got drunk. Like that's kind of the bad thing of like my service days. Like I tend to like just either be a total lazy piece of shit or just go get drunk. I never like do like, oh, I just fucking wait tables all day and now I'm gonna like fucking make some rad art. Like it's always just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna be a lazy piece of shit and watch a movie, or oh, let's go get shit faced.
You got it. Well, you got to, dude. You got to turn it into like the fucking Cedar Tavern, like Jackson Pollock, fucking Willem de Kooning drunk, where you're like sloshing around in blood and broken glass, and like it's Eric Wixon's broken fucking bloody foot art.
Like, yeah, I did like this whole series that were like action paintings or whatever. And
yeah, dude, I always think of your work as action art for sure.
So I did these ones back in college where it was like fucking, you know, like one of them would be like, okay, like off this canvas at the bottom of the staircase, not all the way down the staircase and land on the fucking paint up canvas. Or I had like people break dance and fucking on a canvas or whatever. But I did one where I literally like, it was written in the proposal of like, I'm going to drink a fifth of whiskey and watch my buddy's punk rock band and just fucking come get shitty in the basement. And like, I'm literally just like diving around and painting like shit faced out of my mind. And fucking the painting actually came out like pretty beautiful. It's all like light and cosmic and shit, but it's hilarious because it's from me like being like borderline fucking alcohol poisoning, diving around in a basement like in paint.
So have you ever heard this concept? And Steve-O talks a lot about it, where he believes to this day, he's been sober for like, you know, a while, and he thinks that when you take drugs or alcohol, it like erodes the barriers between actual dimensions that are existing. So like, so that you're, so that's why if you take like way too much, if you take canister after canister of fucking nitrous, like Steve-O, you wind up like actually going through ethereal shit. And like, if you take DMT, it's like you're entering realms that we just don't have access to because of the boundaries of our physical senses, because it's not going to benefit our animal as a species or whatever to intertwine with the great beyond. We have to fuck and eat, you know. This is already the best podcast I've ever recorded, and we're only like 2 minutes in, dude.
I didn't even know we started.
I think because we already did some of the intro kind of shit, I'm gonna just splice it. Yeah, we're just rocking.
Tell me about chonies, dude. Are you rocking chonies right now?
I'm in my. They're just my b-ball shorts. You know, because I'm such a b-ball legend, dude. I hit a 3-pointer in 5th grade, and everybody was like, "Yeah!" And then I kept trying to hit that 3-pointer, dude. Never hit it again in life ever. And then you could see the whole like team turn away. Like they thought I was such a kookarino, dude, which I fucking totally am when it comes to like sports and shit. I'm like ungainly and gangly, which is not possible because I'm a stumpy little fella.
I'm kind of a stumpy little fellow as well.
All English with a pinch of Swedish or whatever the fuck they send the white people with blue eyes on that thing where you spit in the tube. You know, all I know is I have villain eyebrows, but I'm not at all fucking anything spicy or flavorful, dude. I can't eat jalapenos. Tell me a little bit more about that blood painting. So you're sloshing around.
Yeah, that was all the way back in college. So yeah, it was basically a painting course. It was kind of like an upper level course. Basically, my whole thing was kind of like making like realism, because the idea of what we're sold as realism is like the farthest thing from it, because it's literally like artifice by definition. Like people are painting something realistic and they're like sitting there like copying some shit and it's fake as fuck. They're trying to trick this flat surface into looking like it's a fucking real person.
This is a line from The Sopranos, but Little Carmine called it trompe l'oeil.
Yeah, exactly. So well, like realism would be if something is a direct result of something else that happened, then that's more real, right? It'd be like, okay, here's a canvas at the bottom of the staircase. It's like rolled up with paint, and I would ollie down the stairs, land on the canvas, and then there'd be like a couple of wheel lines, my arm, because I ate shit and slid or whatever. So for one of them, the loosest of the whole lot, most of them were kind of relatively defined, but the loosest of the lot was one of the kids I lived with, big house full. There was like 5 different musicians. One of the kids was in this punk rock band. So the proposal was written as such that I would drink a bottle of whiskey at his show, come back to our basement and just kind of fuck around with like paint in the canvas and not really knowing what I was getting into. And it was written a bit more specific than that, but that was kind of the gist of it. Diving on the canvas and like rolling around. And at one point I'm like drinking paint on the fucking thing. And yeah, I know, not good. Luckily I'm still alive.
Do you have did you record any of that in your
no,
physical brain
like
meat?
Yeah, that and like old school, like there's like VHS and shit on it. Like, yeah, so it's buried deep in the treasure chest somewhere. And there's like slides of it. That's how fucking old I am. There's like slides that I had to turn in for my project or whatever. Yeah, so the irony of it was that it was kind of like this raw, primitive, kind of gnarly, bloody, fucking shitty, just kind of mess. But then the painting, if you didn't see how it was made, it's this beautiful, ethereal, cosmic rendition of the night sky or something.
Wow.
But it was just me shit face rolling around in pain.
What I'd like to do is I'll probably, if you have any link to that image, I'll flash it on the screen.
I'll see if I can figure it out. It would be like a slide of it from fucking, this is like 1999 or fucking 2000 or some shit. I graduated college in 2001. I don't have like a proper like, oh, here's the image of it. Do you have a VHS converter so we can fucking
No. I would have to literally hold my laptop and press the Zoom call.
I don't even have anything to play a VHS. I think I still have it on tape in a box somewhere. I'm like 80% sure I still have it. I know for a fact I at least have like slides. Anyhow, I feel like I'm fucking jumping off track. What was the?
There's an artist called Eve Klein who did these things called
he did the chicks through the blue paint.
Yeah, and he called them anthropometries.
That was like one of my first influence. Yeah.
Well, that takes care of that question on my list of 7 questions. So wait, tell me,
what's the question?
What are your most powerful influences, or what kind of, when you're like a kid, something grabs you, you don't even fucking know why, but it's like bling. You share some kind of wave with this weird thing you see in the La Jolla Contemporary. Like with me, I got my story. Anyway, yeah. So who are your influences, and like in terms of the painting we see behind you and the direction that you move from anthropometries drunk on a skateboard to
a bunch of weird faces. I feel like this stuff ties back early influences. Back when I was still in high school, I loved Salvador Dali. I can definitely see like some of that in there. Yeah, I don't know what other artists of influence. I feel like there's probably a handful of like current contemporary artists that I remember 15 years ago, somebody told me about Doze Green, and it blew my mind because I felt like I was making work that looked like, it wasn't super similar to his, but it looked as if though he was already influencing my work. I credit him as like a modern day influence.
I've never heard of Doze Green.
You gotta look this dude up. It's so ill.
Have you ever looked at de Kooning?
Yeah, for sure. Going to Kooning, big time, hands down. Like guy who taught me in college, I first went to like a little branch for a couple years, and then I went to the main campus. And the guy who studied under at the little branch, his name was Elmer Day. I would get drunk with him, and we'd fucking paint shit late at night. I'm not trying to get the guy fired, but yeah, his paintings were very much like de Kooning. So I think that was hugely impactful for sure. I think like in the earlier phases where I'm still kind of like splashing shit around before I start pulling faces out, it's like very much related to that. I'll kind of start with that loose, splashy, abstract expressionist vibe. And then I go back and I try to pull like, oh, that kind of looks like a nose right there. So then I start kind of like the finer lines afterwards.
It's this confluence of subconscious and action, so I know you didn't want to be described as necessarily abstract expressionist, because that's sort of well-worn territory. Much in the same way, I don't really super identify with pop, because now on Instagram, you see all that like Mona Lisa with fucking chola eyebrows or whatever they're doing, like with all the messy pink bullshit. And I'm like, there's people that are doing really well, or at least they appear to be. And I'm just like, that's not art. So you're not reinventing the language. So your thing is you're doing this subconscious approach. Out of the miasma of this like crazy action comes a titty or a fucking gun. Eric and I go way back to when Moses wore short pants, and we used to work with a crew called Field Trip Entertainment, which was how I taught myself to go big.
Did you know Dave, and that's how you got brought into it?
No, I knew Brett. We were getting drunk in North Park one night, and this is when Brett still had hair, and also all I
didn't even know Brett went bald. That's how long it's been since I've seen him, but I'm not shocked.
He got fatter and balder, and that's usually what happens unless you go vegan. Shout out fucking dude, speaking of sober October, so I did sober October to today, and I go, I'm gonna fucking have like 5 days of enjoying fucking pilsners so I can do sober November until the end of November.
That's cool.
I feel really good. I feel really.
I should probably do a sober November. I feel like I don't drink like a ton usually, but I just drink so regularly. Like it's rare. It's rare to like not drink at all. It's kind of like I'll have like a few drinks every day. You just look at it like cumulatively, and I'm like, fuck, over the course of a month, like I'm ingesting a lot of booze.
Yeah,
the occasional benders too, and then it's like, that's really bad for me. You know what I mean?
Let me say this, and I don't know if I'll probably edit it out or maybe not. For me, if I'm doing that thing, it's either, it's like 2 to 4 beers a day or every other day. And then I'll be out at like St. Archer in Leucadia, which is like, it's not a sports bar. It's the only place you don't feel like you're going to get roofied because they close at 9 o'clock. And people, by the way, are getting roofied up the 101 like a motherfucker, dude.
Crazy.
My friend Eric just got totally fucking gay bashed in Hillcrest. Go family. That's where that would happen. The point is, don't drink yourself into he's basically like a woman on the street. And Hillcrest is like the fucking inner city now in terms of like danger. It's been creeping with meth creeps for fucking centuries now. It's not just like this like quaint little place with like, it's not West Hollywood, and even West Hollywood's really scary too. But anyway.
Don't get roofied on the 101.
So yeah, it's either 2 beers and like I go home and I'm working on a fucking podcast or a commission for awesome dope grandma in Soledad or wherever, or it's 7 IPAs and then cocaine with a fat girl in the bathroom of the fucking O'Hurleys, which That happened during the pandy at the height of the mask thing. We were all just dancing and we were all spitting to each other's mouth. Like it was, nobody gave a shit. It wasn't. So yeah. So dude, I've been doing this new thing where I'm like, well, let me see if just like cut down and it amps up production because I force my fucking hand in the way that like I don't want to do it. I don't even want to paint ever. I want to fucking jack off or watch fucking, I want to Netflix and fucking, you know, whatever. I just, you know, nobody wants to do anything. It's just a question of like being the samurai of my own fucking destiny and be like, hey asshole, at the end of October, how much did I produce? It never feels like I'm doing anything, but then 2 days later,
you have to work the show for, you're like, oh, I guess I've been busy.
Even in the moment, I sometimes can't. This is like therapy 101 with us now. If I'm playing music and recording, I can't hear that shit until I fucking go to sleep and wake up and look at it 2 days later and go, that solo is dog shit. Or plus my shit, the difference between sort of my work and work like yours is that my work is so absolutely what it's going to be from the time that it comes from field trip, dude. It comes from making t-shirts so I could look cool in PB, look like a Velvet Underground hipster dude. And then Brett and Dave coming along and being like, dude, we're doing this live show. We pay you $100 a thing. And at the time that might've been, it was well been $1,000. I was like, what? You're going to pay
I know,
me?
right? I was like, really? Like, we're just going to go party and you're gonna give me $100? Sick. Because it was always like free drinks from whatever venue we were at doing it at, and then you're just like painting with buddy. This is so fun.
I got my grandma drunk at fucking 4th and B for the master.
Yeah,
were you
dude,
at the Mastercraft? Did you go to the Mastercraft show?
Yeah.
My family was like, he's famous now. Yeah, I brought my dad and my grandmother, and they were in the VIP and the bottle service like it's fucking Vegas. And my grandma's ordering like goose after gooses, dude. And my dad's ordering like his little fucking faggy like Pacificos or whatever. Tries to tip the gal or whoever, and I'm like, no, you don't. This is the Tony Soprano is taking care of. You know, Richie Soprano, the Eric Wixon is taking care of this. All right. But it's been a Sopranos marathon, dude. So I've been cooking a lot of fucking vegan garlic fucking dinners, let me tell you. So this is an important question I'd like to ask every artist that does this show. What is your least favorite work?
Oh, I used to make tons of shitty art, man. I feel like the majority of it's pretty solid now, at least I put out there. I do doodles all the time, and a lot of my doodles look like dog shit and other doodles look cool. As far as like worst art, I think it probably would date all the way back to, like my college years. Like I remember because you would get assignments, right? So it's like, in addition to like having not kind of honed your craft or fucking even know what you're about, you're also like, oh, now I got to fucking meet this, whatever set of parameters are. And I think anytime
the academic, like I got to paint a fucking apple in a skull. Which
exactly.
Has zero, whatever the allegory is. It's dumb. It's a fucking some velvet and an egg. But to go back to what you're saying earlier about like doing that sort of well-worn, and it's good. Those are the fundamental basis of like. Right.
I think it's good to learn, like, have you do the beginning shit and kind of learn the techniques and this and that. But I think it's also like some of the shittiest art. I think that's at least back then, that's how school was designed. It's kind of like, okay, like you go through the first couple of years and it's like, here's all the basic fucking shit. And then the last couple of years is like, okay, now find your own shit and tell us why you're doing your own shit and don't worry about any of that shit you just learned. And that's basically how the school I went to was designed.
Forgot to ask you, what school did you go to? What school?
Kent State. Yeah, it's just a state school, Kent State University in Ohio.
You went to Kent where the shit went down?
Yeah, exactly. Kent where the shit went down.
Wow, dude. Okay, because that was one of my, that should be in the intro, but it's fine.
Okay.
This is a great all over the place podcast. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah, it was a pretty liberal school. It was pretty rad. And unfortunately, it was like 4 people got shot. It's kind of like, they're pretty known due to that. Still to this day, like, and they still like, memorialize it. And there's times where like you would be like, oh, okay, like here's this, project or commission or whatever. And then there's like this set of parameters around it. And I think ultimately you make the best work when the only kind of things that you're working within are your own set of whatever you set up for yourself, rather than anything like outside of that dictating it. So one of my all-time favorite quotes by Robert Rauschenberg, it goes, things that happen naturally are more convincing than things longer willed for.
Wow.
And it's like a, steal from a Shin song. You can't wrestle a dove, or there's a million different ways to say it, right? Like,
it's very interesting. So you are the vessel through which some kind of magic happens that you're not even necessarily privy to. So that
that's becomes,
I have to ask too. So when it comes to sharing your doodles, what constitutes a effective thing you dig, or a piece of dog shit that you are embarrassed to share? What about the language of those makes it?
Yeah, some of them are like, that looks cool, and it
works, or it doesn't work. Does not work.
Yeah, and it's
and
really
and
that simple, and it's just personal taste, and it's totally subjective. I remember doing a show at the Rubber Rose. Do you remember that sex shop in North Park?
yeah, I tried to work there way back in the day.
Okay, so I did this big ass show at Rubber Rose. It was a solo show. I was fucking super hyped on it. The ladies that run it were amazing. Anyhow, so I do this show there, and it's like this big install. I have 3.5 foot by 5 foot paintings. I have fucking a painting on the wall. I have like these other like paintings that I hung like shelves that were kind of like a Donald Judd.
Just about to say Donald Judd. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'd have canvases coming out of the wall, like how he had sculptures coming out of the wall, and then there were like these 2 like sizable canvases over here that were like 30-inch by 40-inch. Anyhow, one of those 30-inch by 40-inch paintings was like, this is the only piece in the show that's weak. Everything else looks fucking great. Fuck, should I even show it? I don't even know. I don't want to show it. Fuck, I guess I'll show it because it's like I already had the whole idea of how everything was going to work in a space. It was the one fucking piece that sold at opening. So it's like, whatever's good or not good is subjective.
The lesson I take from this and other conversations with artists, we all are similar in the way that we don't know why the fuck we're doing it. Those of us who are truly speaking in a voice, and as I'm pointing past you to the,
I'll take it. I appreciate it.
What's funny too is it looks like I'm pointing at it on my screen, but in the playback, I'm going to be going this way. So let me point to that painting there, which is not the lamp. It's the painting. Those of us who are really the real ones, dude, who aren't doing like Mickey Mouse with this hip hop fucking clothing or whatever.
Right.
Or trying to regurgitate, Rothko or Pollock or just whatever. I kind of forgot what the point of what I was saying was. Anyway, I think that to act like the vessel through which that thing happens is a gift that you got to kind of heed, whether or not you know why. And that's so interesting. Like, I don't know when something is going to be dog shit until I fucking build it and put it together, dude.
Right.
So it's like how many of these paintings with this action and these dreamlike body parts are figurative elements that emerge like a fucking hand. I wanted to cut back to, we had a mutual, he was a collector of yours and he was a friend of mine. We don't really speak anymore because life and whatever, people grow apart, but he bought one of your things or maybe you traded, and his name was Mark Whalen Harrell. Remember Whalen?
Yeah, no, that was a trade. Yeah, I remember that, dude.
Important artist and a bit of a strange ranger in terms of persona, but I really, when I am wealthy and I am the patron of all arts in America and the world.
Dude, you should just hit him up. He'll hook you up with something affordable or fucking trade or.
Well, we kind of have a history or whatever, but so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he freaked out a little bit, but he had some personal stuff and he just was like, anyway. So, but I have always considered him in the same way that I sort of considered you.
What kills me is I don't even know what the fuck happened to the pieces I had. I had this dope piece that was like mostly white with like a bunch of E's on it. I don't know. I feel like he maybe he wanted it back really bad at some point, and so when I moved to Japan, I fucking give back to him or something.
What?
I don't
see. That's what I mean. So that's what I mean.
I don't even remember.
He was fairly unstable, which sometimes makes for fantastic art.
Right.
And he's the sort of person that like I'm on my trip, my pop high end weird. Pop is not even the right word. I hate. That's when I ask you, and you're like, don't call it Abex. It's fucking it's eWix. That's what it is. There you go. Bitches.
That's it. That's my shit.
People don't look at my stuff and go, oh, Warhol, unless they like, it's kind of obvious because it's of certain aesthetical elements, but like
it definitely seems beyond that though. That feels like an influence. And then
thanks, man. Yeah.
I think you could say like the pop thing because the people that you tend to paint are iconic figures. So I think that's pop, but it isn't as flat as what you would think of as pop art. It's like this, it's very like 3-dimensional in this weird, almost hologrammy type fucking way. I remember being blown away by that shit back in the day. I was like, how in the fuck is he using spray cans and getting that like weird dimensionality? It doesn't look like most people, if they do a stencil, it looks insanely flat and your shit doesn't. And
it looks dead on arrival. Like, yeah, a lot of
it's like a weird there. you broke the fucking mainframe or some shit. You know what I mean? Like it's like we're just like how the fuck I don't know. It doesn't compute. You know what I mean?
Speak the blessed word of rescheduled. No, well, you know what it is like I got psychosis inducing meticulous with the stencil so that like the water line of the eye, the little part that dictates the fucking like I got like Grey's Anatomy psychotic in terms of building out the stencil because I was never a very good draftsman, but I can paint like a son of a fuck, So when I really broke through as a little kid doing charcoal drawings of like Miles Davis and
nice.
Louis Armstrong. And then I did them really big not because I'm like so great. It's just that if I go small, it's almost like I'm too heavy handed. Like I got these big Eric Clapton fingers, so I can play guitar like a son of a bitch, dude. But I don't have like the little Japanese little
Right.
I could never build like a house of cards because I'm too much of like a baby Huey with my hands, elegant as they are, dude. Dude, how about the best ad campaign ever that no one ever remembers because we are 80 years old is Timotei. Do you remember Timotei hair products? It was like white horses and fucking waterfall glens, a chick in white with white fucking long Rapunzel hair.
That's up until the hair. I'm like, you just sold me Jordache jeans. I don't even remember this.
Timotei.
I
And
don't
she'd be
remember.
wearing like a gossamer linen fucking thing. And it was like about Timotei, this weirdly named shampoo product. And we used to have
Nice.
Timotei in the house as a joke. Turned out it was pretty good. You know,
I
now
grew
I
up to
just
my
like,
sisters like using that Aquanet shit that was like basically this flamethrower. You know what I mean? I grew up to them, like spraying like their bangs up with like the Aquanet.
dude, my brother who's a sociopath and he's dead now and it's okay because he was kind of scary. But he, at one time, I don't know where he fucking learned this, dude. We are 8 years old. He sprayed his fucking hand with Aquanet, let it dry. Sprayed his hand with Aquanet, let it dry. Bro, he did it 8 times, lit his bitch on fire. He was like, talk about Steve-O. And his hand was like the human flame. And it was actually rad as shit because I was like, I'm not going to be doing that. You're my weird psychotic stepbrother that everyone thinks we're twins, even though you have a completely different situation going on facial wise. But anyhow,
Right.
I looked like Steve Buscemi in those days. He looked a little bit more like, he had like gray hair as the 8-year-old. Dude, he got lost at a fair and we were with some other kid's dad and they were like, describe him. And I go, his hair is kind of gray. The dad is like, hey, describe us so we can find him, so we can like do the loudspeaker thing. And I go, yeah, his hair is gray. His eyes are like the color of like, I don't know, anthracite. And he has no soul. But we found him and they were like, yeah, his hair is gray. Anyway, he's dead now, but his hand, he put it under the sink, washed like the fire off, and then was like, no burns. And then the fucking flames started back up, dude.
Oh shit.
So I was like, word, dude, you're cool. Fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out. I'm excited because I'm drinking beer tonight and I'm laying down.
I just poured a beer.
I know you got me all antsy in the pantsy. So I'm gonna lay down some fucking solos because I'm writing this song. If you could check out my YouTube too, because this is the podcast that I stick on my YouTube channel, but all that other shit is my original recordings and stuff. So
yeah, I'll scope it out, man. I haven't listened to any of your stuff yet, so look forward to it.
It's okay. Check out Blood on My Pillow. I just finally bought like a real fucking guitar this year, the Taylor, which I never heard of, but apparently they're from San Diego. This is not an art podcast anymore. Let me try and reel us
I actually
in.
knew a guy who used to work for Taylor, and he was like pretty high up, but I forget dude's name. Basically, an ex-girlfriend of mine. This girl Wilda, I dated for a couple years. Super rad chick.
Chinese or something?
Yeah, she was actually. Yeah.
I don't know why I know that because I knew you then. I guess this is why.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was around the time when I knew you, I would think. Yeah.
I think I used to freak you out back in those days. I was like a little over the top. I was very insecure in those days. I was trying to be like, I used to describe it as like, I looked like Vince Neil's stepdaughter. Like I would just do the hair and I would do a smoky eye and show up at the fucking X Fest and like wonder why everybody's calling me a fag or whatever. Tell me, what is your strongest work? It's hard to name one, but what is either the strongest work and where are you headed next?
Over pandemic, I did a series called Internal Dialogue, and I think it's like some of my best work to date. Had a lot of time to focus, and there was a lot going on. And like, I lost my father. It was like the end of like a 7-year relationship. I wasn't sure money wise, but then there was also, this time to paint and focus. Kind of all that shit digested and spit through this series of works, and I feel like it's some of my strongest paintings to date. They take like quite a while to make. They're like 30-40 hours per painting or so. And so the ones that I'm doing now are a bit quicker and a bit more direct. Like I typically, when I paint, like I'll just go straight to canvas. But for that particular series, I made drawings first. So the drawing still was, no predetermined notion when I start the drawing. I would just, start doodling and eventually build up the drawing. I might go through 3 or 4 that I'm kind of like, nah. And then I'd be like, all right, this one's a fucking painting. And then, be thinking about what it's going to be called or whatever. And then the next one. But basically, I got a series of drawings done that I was amped on and then turned those drawings into paintings. And it was kind of a cool more structured thing. But then I also found myself pretty far through a painting and I'd get bored.
It stopped glowing or something? Like it just stopped talking to you?
Yeah. So, because typically when I paint, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing until I'm 3/4 of the way through it. And that keeps me interested. Going from drawing to painting, there's enough variance in the painting from the drawing that like there's still leeway to create. I would still find myself, just because it was such a long process, I found myself like a little bit bored and having a clear picture of what the ultimate ending was. And so now I'm going back to a more direct painting, and the paintings I'm making currently are more direct and more engaged in the process itself.
Let me ask you, so when you say 30 to 40 hours,
Time like brush to canvas. I mean, I was thinking about all the fucking time and like,
sure,
you know, referencing it in different ways, and that doesn't count the drawing time. And yeah,
but in terms of execution, that is, say a 30 hours is like, that could be 7 days of like, you know, whatever, 3 hours each, or is it like,
yeah, it was usually, I would say on average, they took me longer. Like I would say over the course of a week to 2 weeks, I would make one painting, just like a few hours here, a few hours there. Holy big bender here. Like kind of the same as my drinking, right? It's like, oh, just sip a little, sip a little, sip a little. Like I'm in deep now. That fucking nothing's pulling me out. Let's fucker. You know, like it was just, I don't know. It's just weird how the process worked, you know. 7 paintings in that series. And then there was like the following series is like that exact same style. And the following series was the one that I didn't finish, but it's that exact same style. It just have one left in it. But I was also doing other work too. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? I wasn't only making those paintings. I would still like do my doodles. I would still be like, oh, I'm going to make these 2 faces for this person, or this for that thing, or oh, I get to paint my buddy's garage for fucking money. Oh no, I got this little weird pet portrait. Whatever, you know what I mean?
What's the total of works in the internal dialogue series? How many works?
Oh, the internal dialogue, it's only 7 pieces. And then there's the one right after, it's called Set Intentions, and it's only 5 pieces, but the 5th still isn't done.
In other words, internal dialogue.
Internal dialogue and Set Intentions looks like the exact same work. Just visually looking at them, you wouldn't know that painting wasn't part of that previous series. So I feel like the 2 series are interrelated.
So what about that series exists in like it's like an organism that has parts. Now it's this collection with a name, and but it didn't start that way. It started from some sort of truth that you needed to express. Maybe that work felt like a breakthrough because you weren't making it in terms of collector,
right?
At all, right?
I wasn't even to the painting part of it yet. Talking to myself, finally making the fucking work I've supposed to be making my entire life, and it took a fucking pandemic, but it's finally happening. Like here I am, finally making the shit I'm supposed to be making. And I was having like all kinds of freaky shit go down all the time. Like at that time, just seeing like 1111 everywhere and fucking like whatever. Like I mean, it was weird on so many different fronts. And I think a lot of losing my father and then the longest relationship of my life falling apart during that same time. I think it was just kind of took all that in a pandemic to make the good shit. But I made some good shit finally. It's been some of my strongest work to date for sure.
Every artist that I've interviewed so far, and you are podcast number 4, I see what you're saying, episode 4, the through line, everybody's different. We all walk our different cultural reality and our different aesthetical choices and, you know, all that shit. But something I've noticed is a little bit of depression, a little bit of confusion, a whole lot of idiosyncratic OCD, like 1111. I, in my life, will not address even numbers, so that if I turn on a heater or a cooler, it has to be on 61 or 81. Right. And that's true of everything. I won't listen to radio stations that end on 4 or 6. Like it's just, and I no idea. I can't really tell you why. I don't think like my mom's gonna die if I don't keep it on. Like it's not extreme. So that work felt strong. Now it's driven this new direction. At some point you may pivot, because now that's going
I think I'll go back and make more of the stuff that's similar to the internal dialogue, but I just feel like I needed a break and I needed something more direct, more raw. And I think I'll probably do something in between the series that I'm currently doing and the stuff that'll be similar to the internal dialogue. At the very least, I have to finish that 5th painting of the Set Intentions, which is that same style of work as the internal dialogue. So that'll happen, I don't know, sometime soon, probably before I even finish the set of 5 that I'm currently working on.
Do you like put a date, or is it completely, I feel it, I got to do it now, I'm going to the fucking basement, I have to paint now? It
ends up being both. I tend to kind of create like loose deadlines for myself, because if I don't, I might find myself just being like, oh yeah, just fucking went surfing, went camping, went for a motorcycle ride, like, oh shit, I haven't painted in 3 days, like that's fucking dumb. I try to set parameters for myself. A set of 5 that I just started, I told myself like they would be done by the end of November. which is a very realistic goal. I already knocked out like 2 of them, and I just started a few weeks ago. So basically I had like 1 a week going for the first 2 weeks. Last week was the 3rd week, and I didn't get the piece done, but I got 3 new ones started rather than just finishing one. So basically I'll have those other 3 done by the end of November for sure.
Well, I fucking can't wait, dude. And also too, from what I see on the social media, I'm always like a little envious of Eric Wixon. So just know that, like, at your weirdest, lowest weirdness that we all get to, it's always like, look at the grass is greener thing. It always is.
Right.
I'm like, he's really doing his own voice. Then I'm like, fuck, I'm just regurgitating my, you know, and then that's, I think, I don't know if we all deal with that, but I know
Right.
that
For
I
sure.
do. Here's my new thing. I am attempting to auto suggest the mantra that is, what would you paint if you had $5 billion in the bank?
But yeah, if it didn't matter.
We started
Right.
this thing because we don't know why, except for we are compelled by the color
I guess
pink.
that's the
in my
one good
case.
thing about not being successful, right? Like I fucking haven't garnered much success in terms of financial whatever. So I guess that's the one positive aspect. You're not catering to an audience. Like my buddy Kelsey is probably the most achieved artist that I have know on a personal level.
Okay.
He fucking kills it, dude. He works with tons of high-end galleries, sells for shit tons of money. He's done like Red Hot Chili Pepper covers, like all this shit. And long story short, for the last long time now, he's been painting kind of like the same like small squiggly line paintings. I mean, maybe it's just because that's truly absolutely what he wants to paint, because it makes sense, because he has a background in microbiology and he paints stuff that is microbiology, so it's kind of neat. But it's like after doing it that many times, you think they're like, if it wasn't the fact that it's working financially, he would have switched styles a long time ago.
Here's what I have to say about that. And we've
Right.
already proven that you could sell work. Keep it pure. My new thing is I have a complete lane of shit that is totally for it has nothing to do with like real art. It's kids, it's dogs, it's fucking fun. I mean, it's not fun. Nothing's fun. You know, jacking off isn't even that much fun. Like the point is,
try switching hands or something, bro.
I did the other night. It was pretty nice. I really like eating food. That's my favorite thing. I hate recording music. I really love listening to what I played. I love playback. It's all about that thing I did thing. But the doing of it feels like a weird, it never feels like meditation. And sometimes it does, but more often than not,
I think that is one, the one
light
thing,
hitting the fucking form right. And then am I saying something different with those tools?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that was part of like how he is able to paint squiggly lines a million fucking times over. It's just like a meditative practice for him.
So paint for market, that's fucking fine. But if you're only painting for market, you are now, in my opinion, no longer, well, this is really harsh, dude, but it's going to harsh everybody's mellow. Oh, look at that. I see a big old cat head.
Yeah, that's Gonzo. He's getting some pets.
Not to harsh Gonzo's mellow, but if you're just doing well-worn because it is for market, you are no longer creating art. You are creating commodity, which is fine.
Right.
Warhol always said, not that I'm a big old Warholian, but he was always like, he always had the stance towards the end of his life.
We'll just keep making it and fucking putting it out was his thing, right? Like, to go back to our point earlier about like, oh, what's good, what's bad? His view is very much like, fuck editing it. It was just like, just spit all that shit out there, let them figure it out. Just keep moving and making shit.
Yeah, business.
And I think that's kind of cool.
Art to him. So, but like it was and maybe that even came from, one of the writers for Interview, one of the Bob Colacello maybe came up with that idea, but that's what it was. It was about, I'm tabula rasa, fill me with all of your shit, because I'm the fucking guy putting I'm the weirdo that's on the face of the company. So, give me the ideas. Bridget, what's her name? The fat chick who used to jam fucking meth into her thigh. Bridget Polk was her name. She was a fat chick. She was real famous in the factory, and she did a lot of Andy Warhol's flower paintings. So basically, he didn't hardly even paint half the things. It was mostly the dude who taught him silk screening, which was Gerard Malenga. And then Warhol just signed them, and everybody made, $30,000 a year, whatever they made in the fucking 70s. But then Warhol, after his death, is like a fucking stupid silk screen, which did reinvent the visual language and all of that. So in so much as it did, are now going for a multi millions of dollars. But interestingly, they're not as valuable, say, as Jean-Michel Basquiat in terms of they're less rare because there are so many of them.
Right. Yeah. The reproduction factor.
But because there are so many of them, he's able to have a completely dominating market as a dead fucking guy. Not only that, but they're still licensing his shit for like notebooks. And so I'm not anti make money at your shit, but I am anti-sacrificing the purity of your, and maybe our dude, what's his name, Kelsey, maybe he has a side of things that he does not share with anyone, and that's fucking rad. I want to have totally commercial work, high-end work, and then like my floating head thing, it's not available to collectors.
Be like ultimately have the floating heads be like museum pieces or something.
I want them in the Stedelijk Museum during my lifetime to create the particle of that idea, dude, and to let's transmute the idea into its physical counterpart. Like anything good comes from, like we don't really know where, and then suddenly I'm just walking the steps towards making work that I would have 20 years ago said was the only work that mattered.
Is that right?
But now I say I should hope that my aim is to reinvent my visual language in a way that is not something that I've seen yet, which is, I think, what you're doing. And I want to commend you on it. And that is why I wanted to interview and why I really am glad to know you after all these years, dude. Last question. This is an important one. It's a little bit of a corny one, but it's what the world needs. Advice for young artists who look at your work and say, hey, man, how can I do my thing?
Right. I'd say that's it. Do your thing. Don't worry about all the bullshit. Make work and make it all the fucking time, especially when you're young. You don't have to super force it or whatever, but long story short, the answer is definitely just make work.
So go to stupid art school, learn how to.
Dude, I don't even care about the stupid art school. That part doesn't even matter.
Here's what I was going to say.
Make work.
Go to the stupid class, paint the fat naked lady or the dude with the dong. Learn how to paint the fucking skull and the apple and the stupid little velvet setup, and then break all those rules by shitting your pants and diving. I got to come up with a different metaphor that's less dirty sounding. Go ahead and learn the rules so you know how to break them, which I believe is a Picasso-ism that he probably stole from Matisse or whatever the fuck. You got to come down here. We got to get a fucking, if I'm not doing sober month or something, which I might not be, I'm going to drink tonight. St. Archer's Rad will go there and get a point. Once again, where can people find your work?
On Instagram, there's a link to my link tree, and that's kind of the easiest go-to, I feel like.
Thanks for doing this. All right, this will be up on Friday or some shit, but all right, dude,
let
him in.
Yeah, just keep me posted. Good luck with the editing. Let me know when it's up, and I'll send a little fucking link out or whatever.
Hell yeah.
All right, cheers.
All right, E, thanks, man. Thanks, brother.
My pleasure.